Uh, Good afternoon. Today, our students will be discussing about a hot topic of who makes money, like either in an entrepreneurs or else like employees. So let's start with the flourish.
Apart from saying who makes money first, who makes money, entrepreneur or employer, first you go with the who makes money. Let's assume first entrepreneur making money. It's about their ideology and the domain which they choose and the ideology behind the upcoming years. Nowadays using AI in the entrepreneur of the company will be gain more employees, easy work, and no need of extra employee workers. As we're going for the employee work, if they have knowledge in the AI and their own domain, so they'll be getting even more pay. So at this first, it's more about their ideology and their thinking process. Some people also.
So I would like to add that if you're going to compare entrepreneurship and jobs, two things. First is the risk and mindset. If you're ready for the risk, entrepreneurship is the best skill over value. Because yeah, I understand that 10 startups fail, but one startup always passes. It's your ability to jump on from pole there to here. If you're thinking this is something new, but in the job market, which is in the IT field, it's something very common. Nobody in this job is there for 5 to 6 years in the same company. If you're there, that's stupid. Because as you move on, you learn to understand, and also as you develop, and each team which you move on gives you a new skills and new mindset. So that's how the job market is still there LIT free. So this is not something different. If you're going to take this, and if you have the ability, or if you just have thinking like you can do it, then entrepreneurship is the best basic I have. Okay, so let's say we have a we'll say we have a particular pencil. So pencil, we know it's used this for basic writing purposes. But if you just backtrack it back to its raw materials, we require lead for pencil. So basically, in that similar manner, it's basically what the growth mindset is the number one. Apart from that, instead of just going blindly behind money, we could just go behind the things which makes money. So one of the basic example would be skills. So if we just focus on our skills rather than what kind of money if you would want, skills are the basic requirement either for an entrepreneur or even for a full-time employee. So it's actually subjective because uh, for an entrepreneur, for a person who is wishing to have their own business or own startup, they might go move towards that path. And for a person who has only seen as having a job as a eternal achievement or as a goal, for them it might be most preferable. So coming from both sides, let's take an entrepreneur. So for an entrepreneur, he or she has to realize what kind of effect that particular startup brings in, and what kind industry targets, and what are their competitors, what are its target audiences, and most of the basic things. So it involves business thinking as well, business and systems thinking. But in the case of a full-time employee, well, you can consider that just they'll be given a particular role and they have to work for that role. So for a person who is very skillful in one particular aspect, let's consider for front end. So for a front end developer who is very skillful in his front end skills, the only role which he or she would be given is a front end role. And for a person who is skilled in front end, it is put into a startup. So first of all, as I mentioned, business thinking, if that particular person has a little bit of business thinking, he or she can make sure to use those front end skills into a startup where you can just create a website which solves a particular problem as well. So I like to say it's subject to a particular person, but it's based upon he or she's thought process.
Entrepreneurs have unlimited burning potential, but it's not guaranteed. Various employers treat a stably safe
Inlay on the ways. Pisa.
employees has the constant earn from the building.
Influence takes stable and regular informs everyone, but entrepreneurs, their salaries are uncertain. But successful entrepreneurs earn more than their parents. So, what is your can you explain?
So before starting this, I would like why did this startup thing came first? Because like it's not something that only we people are doing. Even the government is supporting the startups. So why this question raised was unemployment is at peak right now. 10 years back, there was many people who are ready to get employed. But right now, more than 10%, like less than 10% of the population is getting employed. So 90% of the population is still stuck, like they are searching for the work. So here is where the boom of startups came. So this was also the crucial for many of the startups. Like many of the companies, and let's take PhonePe. So they developed an app, and what they did is something different. They started a concept, they built it, and they sold it. So this was something different because this was not seen in the market up till now. So a different way of thinking is overseen here by here. So I think so. Startup is not something different, but is something you should get adapted similar to AI. Apart from all of these points, let's just backtrack to the main question. So what if a person is employed? When a person is employed in is under a particular manager at a company. So let's say if the employee has certain levels of skills and thought process that goes far beyond from the manager as well. So there could be some kind of discriminations and bias inside the own company. So that is where I feel that there is a necessity for a startup and a business thinking as well. So let's say for a person who has entered an industry as an employee, okay, has aspirational thoughts and has a deep level of thinking and can think in systems as well. So for such a person, being constrained inside a particular office or a particular closed space would be actually not phenomenal for that person, because that person would have a lot of aspirational thoughts as well. So for such a person who isn't capable inside an industry and a company spaced environment, for a person who seeks growth has to leave, thereby as Subhad mentioned, taking the risk and leaving the job and believing in himself or herself to open his or her own business.
Fine.